And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services in New York City. I have a chance to talk to our friend Myron Gould, who is an assistant professor and adjunct at the NYU Graduate School of Professional Studies and is also a founder of the Merit Group here in New York, a management consulting practice. And Myron, good to see you.
Always good to see you, Ken. Thank you.
Pleasure. And now you've been teaching your classes all summer and over the year. What are some of the topics that you've been teaching, some of the things that have been coming up in class?
Well, as you know, because you took one of my classes, that most of the students in my classes are working professionals. So they're involved in their businesses, and the things that come up in class certainly relate to what they're doing. So we get a lot of talk about social marketing. I'm not referring to social media, I'm referring to social marketing. We get a lot of talk about innovation. We get a lot of talk about, in some of their cases, entrepreneurship. They want to start businesses, or even entrepreneurship, where they're interested in starting divisions of their own companies with where they work presently. We just had a student start a new division for one of the major publishers, and we have students doing projects where they're creating business plans for, let's say, an innovation center down in Chile for a children's hospital. So a lot of interesting things. And then, of course, we have people who are starting businesses that are restaurants and tea shops and what have you. So the talk is all inclusive of those things.
And you've been teaching a course in marketing strategy at NYU and going over a lot of key fundamentals of developing strategy and business plans for businesses. What are some of the key points that you emphasize to your students?
Well, the most important thing when you're planning is to be planning. In other words, many people, when they think of writing a business plan, in effect, they're writing a report about a business that they might start. And I don't do that with my students at all. My students get very granular in terms of detail. We don't say that we're going to spend $50,000 in the first year of new business advertising. Instead, we list the different places or venues that we're going to spend that money, and then we make projections in terms of expectations. And then we create financial statements that are a result of those projections. So the revenue in a financial statement is directly uh, sourced in the media plan that's being created.
And you've always emphasized financial analysis, managing reporting, managing analysis of marketing campaigns in your classes, which is so important in even so much of the online advertising. Programmatic advertising's been the big buzzword at many of the trade meetings we've been at in 2015. Why is analysis and understanding the financials that create success or failure so important for a business?
Well, the whole concept of a business is to earn a profit. And so by carefully monitoring all the different steps or strategies that you engage in and making sure that they're on track and that they're performing the way they were projected, or at least in some semblance of the way they were projected to perform, gives you control over the risk that you're taking. And you can stop something that's not doing what you expected it to do, and then maybe tweak it or change it or discontinue it. And so what you're doing is you're limiting the amount of money that you're spending on something that's not necessarily performing the way you want it to. The whole goal, of course, is to manage risk and to build a business in what I call baby steps. In other words, testing some strategy, in a minor way, and just confirming the results that you get, and then projecting that to a larger rollout of that same strategy. And then if the projections still give you what you consider to be a good return on investment, then you continue growing that, and you grow it in baby steps. You don't, it's like you get into a pool in the middle of a hot summer day, and the water's very cold, and so, I mean, at least myself, I would put my little toe in first to just see what it's going to feel like, and then if it feels okay there, I might go up to my ankle, and I might work my way up until I eventually immerse myself in the water. Well, in my way of thinking, that's the right way to do a business too. There are people out there. There's a Ruth McGrath who wrote a book about um, understanding when to stop spending money on something. Now, she's talking about innovation, which is another significant topic that I deal with my students and in my business. But she's referring to the fact that she calls it disengagement. In other words, you might introduce a new product and you put it out into the marketplace. And what you're trying to do is, in effect, skim the market, get the most money that you can as early on in that process of introducing that product as you can. And then having a point at which you're going to stop. You're not going to address any further resources toward that project. You're going to pull them out and use them to something that's new and different. And I don't know if I imagine many of the people listening to this will be familiar with S curves. And so you're always on the bottom of the S curve in that situation. You're always in this latest and greatest, and then you stop at a point where you don't have to expend considerable resources because of competitors coming in, and you get on to the next innovative project, which hopefully is going to bring in a lot of money at the beginning, and then you get out of that and you go on to the next and so on. That's her concept, and I think it's a very good concept for many companies. I think one of the things about innovation is, what does this mean to a business? Many businesses think that innovation is to come out with a new flavor of their syrup. We have chocolate syrup, let's do strawberry. And that to them is innovation. And I would consider that incremental innovation. It's really taking one of the two areas that create true innovation, and it's addressing that, and that would be a new product. The other part of innovation is to address new business processes. And so when you have a new business process to deal with a new product, you're ending up with true innovation, radical innovation, which can lead you to the next phase in doing your business. So that's really critical, and we focus on that. What is innovation? And especially for businesses where the founders are writing their business plan, it's good to think out, well, what role will innovation have in our business in the first year, in the second year, in the third year? I think in the first year, you're probably going to deal with incremental innovation, where you're getting your products out into the marketplace or your services. And then in the second year, you might try to start introducing new business processes to improve the way you're getting those products out. And then in the third year, maybe you combine the two and come up with new products and new processes that will be leading edge. That's really where many businesses can exponentially grow, which would be nice for many companies.
And one of the things that you're mentioning is, especially in a corporate environment, is to have some type of an initial success that's short term, that shows that there's a positive response to the program or the offer being developed. Now, in your consulting practice with the Mayrig Group, I know you're developing business plans for companies. What are some of the key things you're working on in your consulting practice?
Well, here too, we get involved in innovation and helping companies understand what that means to them. It's never what we think it means. It's what it means to them. That's the important thing. And defining what it is that they consider to be issues, and then helping them structure resolutions to those issues. We do the same thing with employee engagement, because employee engagement and innovation go very well together. I mean, it's really a package deal. So if you can get the people working in your company to become involved in the planning process, the the conceiving of ideas, because who better to do this than the people who are doing what you do on a daily basis? If you can get them involved and then work on teams together from different areas within the business to make these things happen, and take them through a step-by-step process of, let's say, commercializing them, because again, most innovation things don't ever get to the commercialization stage, because you go through the ideation stage, you go through different steps, phases, and each time you do an ROI or return on investment analysis to determine if this is still looking like something that will be effective for us in our growth. And so it's really getting people to understand using a structured method to approaching these things. It's not a pick something out of the sky. It's not, oh, I have an idea. It's really doing some very strong basic research. It's then analyzing that information that you get. And this comes from outside your company. It comes from within your company. And it's also looking at trends in the industry. I mean, there are all kinds of things that have to go into this, and then coming up with a plan that will help guide your company to growth. That's what we're about.
Absolutely. And when I took your course a number of years ago, you uh, suggested the plan for developing an internet marketing company. And what to me it looks a lot like is some of the success that Amazon has had and eBay has had in generally becoming immense, huge retailers or online retailers. Have you been surprised at how consolidated the big e-tailers have become, especially the two big ones, Amazon and eBay?
Well, maybe you can define what you mean by consolidated, and I can answer that.
Well, just a sense that and this is something I read, I think, in one of the textbooks about internet marketing, is that whoever's got the best software generally wins on the internet because they have the most innovation, the ability to service the most customers quickly. And so it's you don't want to be number two in a lot of spaces, but eBay and has really done very well as Amazon in terms of becoming national and really international markets for very diverse product lines.
Well, I think let's try and make an analogy. If you go back and think about what things were before the internet, so you had some choices. You could use an advertisement in a print media form, and you can talk about your product in a, what is it, a 10 by 12 space, let's say, or 11. And that's the limit that you had of what you could talk about. Then you had direct mail packages, which really were somewhat unlimited in terms of the amount of information you could include in there. So even then, content was very important. Direct mail was very effective, and still is when compared to some other media forms. Again, it's because of the information you can provide. Now, this is not really across the board in terms of market segments. Some segments are not really into reading everything and going through and analyzing it. But that end of things is not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about where you had the playing field to play the game the way you wanted to play it. So you look at the internet now, there's really no restriction on the internet. There's no limit to the amount of information or content that you can put on there. So companies that create a formula where they have people coming to them to look and shop and perhaps buy things, they can offer as many things as they want to. Now, some companies feel the need to have the items, more of a vertical approach where they cover a certain type of product and they have a very large selection within that. Others are more of a horizontal approach where they cover many different types of products. And in the past, that's the definition of a department store. A lot of specialty departments in a big store setting. But on the internet, you don't have to have a lot of specialty departments with limited selection. You can have each of those specialty departments as broad as you want it to be, have as many products as you want because there's no limitation. The big problem with the internet, and it still is, it's always been, and I don't know that it's ever going to change, other than the fact that familiarity breeds comfort, but you know, with direct marketing methods in the past, uh, you could send out a mailing package and reach people and make your offer to those people that you reach. With an advertisement in a magazine, you reach the subscribers and people who buy that magazine on the newsstand. With the internet, you can't throw your website at them. You can't do it. You have to somehow get them to come to your website. So there's the thing in terms of many marketers' mind. That's why social media exists. Why are they out there with a presence? They would like people to make an acquaintance with their business, learn about what they do, and become interested enough to come to the website and purchase. That's really the end goal, I would think, for most companies. I think there are many companies who don't get that. They think that it's important to get followers and connections and to build that mass population, if you will, but they don't take that next step to commercialize it. They have a difficult time understanding that that's important and then how to go about it. So I think that that's a major change, that when businesses like Amazon and eBay that you mentioned, I mean, they attract people and they do things to do it. I mean, Amazon was always, the quick and easy shopping method and discount prices. So that attracts people. I think that other marketers may not be in a position to do that. Maybe they don't want to lower their prices or use discounts or what have you. Although I do see many companies out there that are resorting to this. I'm thinking of companies like Land's End or Bed Bath and Beyond and others that are they're couponing. They're sending out coupons. A coupon is a very powerful force. It's this hot little thing in your hand or in your phone or on your screen or whatever that can save you money or give you money in your pocket or give you a special deal that you wouldn't have otherwise. So if you can get people to use those hot little things to come into your store, whether it's on site or online, doesn't matter to me. But that's really the reason why you should be using social media.
You bring up two of my favorite retailers, LL Bean and Land's End. I've been to LL Bean's facilities up in Maine where they have these aircraft hangar-sized warehouses, and I think the companies that have been traditional catalog marketers have struggled in trying to shift and balance between what they've done, how they've served customers for decades, and how customers now expect to be able to buy any item online whenever they log into that site, and then also to see many special offers. What's your thought? Because you and I both go back a long way in direct marketing. What are some of your thoughts about what the traditional companies that worked in direct mail and in some of the other long-standing channels need to do in order to make sure that they stay up to date with today's internet, kind of savvy customer?
Well, I mean, it comes down to data-driven management. I mean, that's really where it comes down to. It's capturing transactions, it's capturing inquiries, it's analyzing these, it's modeling them and figuring out. I mean, go to the old standby, at least to me, the RFM model, recency, frequency, and money, and just look for characteristics that are indicative of who's going to buy from you, and then focus on those people and move them up through different levels in terms of your relationship with them. I think the segmentation approach to marketing is that's been done by direct marketers forever. It's creating a profile of who's likely to buy this product and then finding people that fit that profile and offering it to them. I think there's no difference there. It's more the general marketers that really didn't do this. The people that are out there branding and just thinking in terms of, well, if we get our name out there, that's going to bring customers, and I don't know that it will. I think that not I think, I've seen over the years, and I'm going back, I guess maybe 10 or 15 years at NYU, where we had an influx in the early 2000s of people coming in from general advertising agencies who were the branding people. That was their thing, branding. And they were trying to learn about this measured marketing, direct marketing, or today they call it integrated marketing. I don't care what you call it. It's dealing with capturing information about what happens in your business. It's dealing with using that information to make additional offers or a first offer to people, and just building that relationship over time. I think that that's really the critical mass for any marketer. But again, you mentioned the LL Beans and Land's Ends and whatever. I mean, these are companies that they understand that. I mean, you go to their website and they're feeding you everything you want to know about what you're interested in. I remember, oh, maybe it was 5 years ago, Land's End was trying to use an avatar. I don't know whatever happened to that, but you would create your own avatar, which would be a body image of you. They asked for your measurements, they asked for your body size and mass and whatever, and an avatar was created that matched exactly the specifications you gave. And then when you could try clothing onto this avatar and actually decide if it looked good on you without having to buy it and then return it. I don't know why they stopped that. I'm not sure, but I thought that was a great concept. But that's the kind of thing I think that if you can do it online, you're making the most of all the different types of promotional strategies and communications efforts that you can. I mean, you can't do more than that. The whole problem is you just can't take your whole website and deliver it to somebody's computer. They have to come to you. That's the only difference.
Okay, and one of the questions, you've got the opportunity at NYU, you've got many students who are in a variety of businesses that are taking courses at NYU. What are some of the things that they're bringing into class, things that are on their minds, things that they're working on, trends that they're trying to address in kind of the variety of industries that they're coming from?
I'll go back to the innovation and entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship and employee engagement. I think these are, in writing their business plans, they focus on the need to understand these things and address them in the planning that they're doing. The other very basic thing that comes up is learning how to write a plan. In other words, understanding the granularity and the detail that's needed. These are issues that are discussed a lot in the classes. I think a lot of them are also interested in social media and how it's being used and how they can take advantage of it. And we try to address that. It's not an easy thing because, again, some companies, are not set up to do that properly, and they forget about the commercialization part. So these are issues that we talk about.
Okay, and Myron Gould, who is an instructor and adjunct professor at the NYU Graduate School of Professional Studies and a founder of the Mayrig Group here in New York, Management Consultants. Myron, if you would just tell us a little bit about your career, some of the places that you've been, and then tell us a little bit about how someone could reach you if they were interested in taking a course with you at NYU.
Well, in terms of my career, I started out in banking. I was in a program that was run by, at that time, Chemical Bank, which is now, or has been a long time ago, brought into the Chase JP Morgan thing. And I learned a lot about finance and how companies have to look at their financial information. I'll say I was recruited from there to Columbia Records, which is where I worked for a number of years for a fellow named Al Schulman, who really became my mentor for, I guess, close to 40 years. He had a division of Columbia Records that was involved with uh, compilations and selling and licensing the rights to use artists' likenesses and music and so on. And we were able to do a lot of innovative things at the time in terms of um, you know, finding new ways to make money from the properties that we owned. I got involved there in running fan clubs, running youth marketing for Columbia Records, or at least for our division. And I once got a call from a fellow named Aaron Zutler from Foot Cone and Belding in Chicago. He had asked me about fan clubs, and he said he had a client that had a character, not a person. And he was wondering if there was a way that we could take a cartoon character and create a fan club and get people introduced to that character and involved with it and whatever. And this was a character called the Frito Bandito. At the time, it was he was portrayed as somebody who would steal corn chips from people who had corn chips because he
I
loved.
remember the campaign.
You, well, this was, yeah. Well, you're dating yourself like I am, but but the bottom line is that we promoted a fan club for the Frito Bandito. And we had, I think it was close to 500,000 kids join this fan club. They sent in their 50 cents and we sent them a kit. So I gained some pretty strong recognition in my world, you know, which at that time was called direct mail. And I was recruited again to a company called Maxwell Stroh Company, which was a consulting firm and an agency in Chicago that I was with 4 other people in New York, and we wrote business plans for very large companies who wanted to achieve cutting edge and new things. Again, innovation. Innovation has played a role in my career quite a bit. It's something I've embraced and never been shy about taking the risk to introduce new things. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. But I was at Maxwell Stroh for a number of years, and then I started my own business, offering consulting services to, again, larger companies. When I say large, I mean Fortune 100, maybe Fortune 500. And then I built that to include a fulfillment service, which we would offer a program or create a strategy for a client. And an example is Dewar's Scotch, and we would create in that case, a club concept where people would join the Dewar's Highlander clan, and then there would be merchandise and a catalog and what have you. And so we would fulfill any orders that came through that program. So I got into fulfillment, and I had that business, I was 15 or 17 years, and then I had some clients who one of which asked me to come to their company and start a new division for them that was involved in what we were calling at the time contemporary media. It's called alternate media now. It's inserts and other alternative ways of reaching people besides.
We've done a lot of inserts at CBSI.
Yeah. So you know what I'm referring to. And so we started an insert division, and that company had some issues that caused them to close down. So there I was back in my own business, and again doing consulting, and that's what I'm doing until today. I started the Mayrid Group with Larry Mantrone, who's also a professor at NYU. He's involved in management courses, and our concept is to work with companies to help them define issues, to help them with strategies to resolve these issues, to train people, to have them understand what it means to engage employees, how to go about engaging employees, and being able to get people on board. You know, I like to take the word me, and I have an M and an E, and I like to invert the M and it becomes we. And I like to characterize this whole concept of, people come to a job thinking me, and they really need to think we. and how do you get them to do that? And then building teams and collaboration and getting people on board for all of that. And then you're opening up the potential for a lot of innovative things to happen in that company and a lot of growth. So we're focused on that. We also offer training for for all of these topics: employee engagement, business planning, marketing planning, um, just management using metrics. We've got 14 different training modules that we offer. And the final thing that we're doing that we just started, and we haven't really offered it to anybody yet, but we've put together a certification program where a trade association, for example, can offer a certificate to their members' employees who take a series of courses focused on what that trade association stands for. So there's a core group of courses: finance, marketing, uh, things like that, and then we develop specific courses customized for the trade association. And so we're hoping that this will give a lot more strength to some of the trade associations out there and give them credence in their marketplace. So that's what we're up to.
Okay, Myron Gould, good to see you. Any last thoughts today on what marketers or business people should be thinking about as we start to approach the very busy fall shopping travel season? Certainly very busy for us at CBSI and all of our clients in the bank card space.
I asked you not to ask me that one. I'm not really a retailer. I don't have an answer that I would feel is acceptable to that question. What I would talk about, though, is people making themselves relevant in their businesses, whether it's their own business to their customers or whether it's working for a large company where they can become an important part of that business. And I think that involves coaching and mentoring and training. And I think people should seek that out. I do.
Okay, Myron Gould, thank you so much for joining us and hosting us today here in New York City on our Talking Business program from CBSI. Myron Gould is again a adjunct assistant professor at NYU Graduate School of Professional Studies here in New York and is a founder of the Merit Group also in New York. And we'll have contact information right here on our video. So again, Myron, thank you and good to see you.
Always good to see you, Ken. Thank you.
My pleasure. This is Ken Kraetzer in New York City, talking business for CBSI Services.